recording locally. So welcome back. We are week 1, part 2 of our broadcast. I can't put this up on YouTube because we're having a bit of an issue directly. Normally I directly broadcast, but I'm recording it locally to my machine, and I'll put up a video later on. So what we want to talk about right now is the assignment details, which is what took me a little bit of time to get going on. I was hoping to get this going a lot faster, but it is what it is. This, like you see here, is due Sunday, January 31st by midnight. It seems like it's far away, but it's really right around the corner, right? So I don't want you guys to wait to start this thing off. The assignment is about steering behaviors. You can read about steering behaviors in the book, all right? You can also read about steering behaviors online if you'd like to, all right? One thing that I'm going to be talking about when it comes to steering behaviors is what they are, and it's really just kinematic behavior for the AI. So one thing you're going to see on the assignment documents, and of course it's available now. Somehow I've got a stream with enough data that's going up. It's probably going to be pretty bad because it looks like my stream is low. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it up later. One thing is you're going to see this idea of mandatory criteria in all the assignments. So mandatory criteria is that you must get that done. If you don't have the mandatory criteria done, then what's going to end up happening is I'm not going to accept the assignment, okay? Which is a problem. So that means you need to get the mandatory criteria done as soon as possible. That's the first part. So the first part is your project setup, which we're going to talk about in the lab. There's going to be something called a start scene. And this lab, I'm going to be talking about how the framework works. If you look up online on Blackboard, right, under labs, there is going to be this assignment framework that you can download early, all right? I encourage you to use this assignment framework, not just for the assignments, but also for your game, for your game production. It's a good jump off point. Instead of starting from complete scratch, you can start off with something. So the assignment framework is not a bad place to start. It was created by me and Alex primarily. All right. So if you have a chance to look at this, download your assignment framework and you should be good to go. Okay. That's number one. So in the assignment framework, I've asked you to put together a start scene. The start scene is going to have your assignment must include some kind of label. It already kind of does this. I'm giving you like 3 marks to use my assignment framework, right? Where the start scene includes your name and your student ID. Okay, you can kind of get this done during lab today. There's also some kind of start button, right? It's a zip archive. It shouldn't be. Let's take a look. It should be a GitHub repo like this. Okay. So this is the GitHub repo. If you download the GitHub repo, it'll turn into a zip archive, but this is the actual repo itself. Okay. We'll talk about this in lab. So what I'd like to do then is the start scene. So you're going to make the start scene, and that's worth 10 points. This is mandatory. You must have some kind of starting place for your assignment. Okay. Then there's the play scene. The play scene is also mandatory. It's separate from the start scene. Think about it as a different state, a start state and then a play state. Okay, there are 2 different scenes that we'll talk about in the framework. Okay, the play scene will demonstrate various steering behaviors. So how your AI agents work. All right, that's how they work. You're going to have some kind of text labels to play the scene to provide instructions to the user. Example would be press 1 for seeking, press 2 for arrival. Example. You can also use IMGUI, which I will explain what that is. It's a immediate mode UI that I've included with your framework. Okay, so this is kind of something that I've done. Your play scene must include appropriate background music. So that's something you have to get for your assignment as well, because you're making a little game, right? You're going to add some simple sound effects for various actions or triggers in the play scene. This may include, but is not limited to, the autonomous character entering or leaving the scene for each steering behavior, etc. Okay, so this is up to you to make. Again, this assignment is individual, all right, which means you're not to work on it with anybody else. You can ask people what they've done, but the idea here is that you get good with the framework. So when you work with everybody in your production team, you are a valuable player. All right. If you cannot code, because this program is a programming program, not an artistic program or a design program, you will not be a valuable member of the production team as much as people who are coding and adding into the project, right? That's the idea anyway. So your start scene should be blank initially, no objects rendering, and allow the user to select the type of behavior that you wish to demonstrate. So this will be accomplished by the user pressing some kind of number button on the keyboard as indicated in the scene labels, or by using your interface that you have, okay? So some kind of seeking behavior, some kind of fleeing behavior, some kind of arrival behavior. And these behaviors we're going to talk about starting next week, okay? What these behaviors are. So seeking, fleeing, arrival, you can look these up. There's lots of examples on the internet as well if you wanted to get going, okay, on some of this stuff. All right, there's also obstacle avoidance. That's something that is a more challenging thing to do. Notice that seeking is pretty simple. It's like moving your actor in a direction, as an example, where your player's ship or avatar is. And it tells you that. It says, an actor, sprite, ship, vehicle, or other character will enter the scene from one of the edges and seek to the target using the seek algorithm shared in class or one that works better for you. The actor must be oriented properly using the look where you're going algorithm. This is for full marks. And that means, we'll talk about what that is in lab, but that means basically wherever the object is going, it's looking in that direction. Example, if I have a ship, the ship's nose is going to point to where they're moving towards. You're not going to move to the side. All right, Patrick, you have a question. Go ahead. What's your question? Can you mix them together? What I mean is seeking a car is coming towards an actor, but right before collision, an actor jumps over the car. We'll talk about that in lab. I'm looking for individual components, but something like that is okay, right? It's just as long as you can show that there's seeking behavior, fleeing behavior, arrival behavior, and so on. Fleeing behavior is when an object is running away from your character. Show that's happening. Arrival is when an object gets to a target point and slows down before they stop. Okay, that's arrival. And obstacle avoidance is if I put an obstacle, as an example, in front of an autonomous character, they should be able to navigate around it somehow with some kind of whisker system. They have some kind of sensing or something like that they use to kind of move around the object. All right, that's how that works. Okay. I'm just going to stop streaming here because it looks like the streaming is not working anyway. All right, and then here are your submission requirements. So remove garbage files from the hidden.vs folder. Leave only the .suo file. Okay, so that's something we're going to talk about in class in the lab. And then create a zip archive. And it says, please do not use RAR of your project and rename it to the following convention: GAME3001 AI, last name, first name. Okay, so a zip archive. So I want that too. So a zip archive as well as a link. Would be nice to get a link to GitHub. I didn't ask for that, but it would be nice to get a link to GitHub. And then some kind of short video presentation, which I talked about in the presentation details earlier today in the course, right? You're going to submit a little presentation video so that you can demonstrate the game. Important note: any submission without a video that meets the above requirements will not be accepted. All right, so if you don't submit a presentation with the video, or sorry, a submission with the video, I'm not going to mark it, guys. All right, penalties. Late submission penalty, minus 10% of assignment total per day late, maximum 3 days. Right, so when you go beyond the 3-day limit, see you later. You're not going to get any marks. Instructors, I provided code is allowed, so if I give you my code, you can use it. However, using external code could result in a mark of 0 for the entire assignment. Example, using your partner's code, somebody that you're collaborating with on this individual assignment. If you use their code or their repo or someone else and you haven't asked for permission to do it, 0. You're going to get a 0 on your assignment, which is not a great outcome for all the work you're doing. Okay. The assignment weight is 10% of the course grade. So you're getting it now, due 2 weeks from now. Here is the detailed mark breakdown where all your marks are coming from. Make sure you go through this so you can avoid disappointment. So example, you use some other framework and you don't use my framework and there's no start scene. You'll lose 10 marks for that. The play scene doesn't have labels and background music and sound effects. You'll lose 15 marks for that. All right. And, let's say you don't do one of these different behaviors. For example, let's say you can't pull off avoidance, right? You can't make this work. Then you lose 25 marks for that, right? And this is important. Notice that these things here are marked with little red asterisks. If you don't do one of these things completely, you won't be able to submit your assignment. Okay. And the question I get from you is, the submission is 1 zip and 1 video. Video link, please. I want you to give me the video link. All right. So the zip archive and the video link are separate. Don't make me go into the zip archive to look at the video link. That is a waste of time, right? I want your submission to be clean. And if you like to use GitHub, no, not a slide, Sinet. All right. I want your submission to be a zip archive and a link to your video. All right. If you use another link, then a nice link to have would be GitHub, which we're going to be talking about in lab. Okay. So that is the requirements for your assignment number 1. Any questions around, yes, a link to your video. Any questions around assignment number 1? So assignment number 1 is pretty simple. I'm not looking for a complete game. I want you to demonstrate, at the bare minimum, I want you to demonstrate those simple behaviors, the steering behaviors that I asked for. So example would be seeking, fleeing, arrival, and obstacle avoidance. Again, you can look at these behaviors online for examples of how they would work, and I'm going to cover them in class as well. All right. For the video, do we have to explain how our code works? Yes, you have to explain how your code works. Not my code. If I've given you a structure, I don't expect you to go through the entire structure of my code, just what you've done to make your stuff work. Can you use the sprites that you use in the template? No, you need to make your own sprites. All right, please use your own. My template is just a template. Replace the sprites with something of your own. And I'll talk about how to do that in the lab. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to save this thing. I'm going to stop recording now. And that's it for me today.